Learner-centered assessment. Learner-centered assessments allow students to take part in the learning process. Self-assessments in particular give students the opportunity to gauge their understanding and receive feedback that will impact their future learning. When students are active participants in the assessment process, learning outcomes can be improved. The first stage of the learner-centered assessment is to plan. The objective of this learner centered assessment is for students to self assess their knowledge of cell transport in the cell membrane. Self assessment, metacognition, and self regulation help develop persistence and result in enhanced achievement, according to McMillan and Turner. This learner centered assessment approach will allow students to check their understanding, identify problem areas, and practice new skills. It will also give the opportunity for future assessment and lesson adjustments that will include student input and data results as the basis for change. This learner centered assessment has three criteria. The first criteria is self evaluation. Students can be more involved in the assessment process when they are creating their own evaluation criteria for products and performances, according to the American College of Education. The second criteria is for them to demonstrate their knowledge. Students are asked to demonstrate what they have learned and what they still need help with. This encourages students to dedicate more time and be creative in their responses while giving their input, according to Duncan and Buskirk Cohen. The third criteria is learner reflection. This self assessment is designed to give students a chance to self reflect and keep students tuned to where they are in the learning process. Reflection on students' own achievement of learning outcomes will deepen their understanding and provide data for instruction and assessment adjustments, according to Flournoy and Bauman. The pilot group for this assessment is a group of 22 students in the ninth grade. There are 13 boys and 9 girls. English is the first language for all students. The 22 students have 75% white, 20% black, and 5% Asian as the ethnicity breakdown, and there are 5 students with an individualized education plan. The intended impacts of the delivery of the self assessment over types of cell transport are for students to determine their strengths and weaknesses, build confidence in their understanding of different concepts, and provide the input needed for the teacher to alter future assessments and learning activities. The impacts of this assessment will help students to achieve the unit learning objectives and their own personal goals. Students also need to understand the complex process of transporting materials and how it transforms energy, builds proteins, disposes of waste, and provides information feedback and movement. According to the Ohio Department of Education, this is an important standard in the biology curriculum. The overall assessment plan is that this self assessment will be distributed to ninth grade students. It will be a cell transport student self assessment. It will be delivered at the conclusion of a 1 week cell transport unit, and it will be delivered in a high school classroom in person. Data collection. Although the assessment will be completed in person in the classroom, the assessment will be delivered using an online platform called EdgeElastic. EdgeElastic has the ability to collect many different forms of data with each submission made by students. Each question, answer, and response will be collected and used as data to analyze in the study process. The next step is to do, which is to actually plan the assessment and create the questions. In the development of the cell transport self assessment, multiple factors were taken into consideration in the design of the questions to use. The questions were designed using these questions. What did the students learn? Where are the students still struggling? How can students demonstrate their knowledge? How can students participate in their own evaluation of skills? And are students given choice and opportunity for input? Here is the questions for the learner-centered self-assessment over cell transport. Number 1, ask students to identify something new that they've learned. The second question asks students to list something that they feel they still need work on. The third question asks them to list a concept they need more teaching or instruction on. Number 4 asks which type of cell transport in particular they feel they understand well and to describe that process. Number 5, ask the students to say which type of cell transport they need re-explained. So number 4 and 5 give students an opportunity to demonstrate their understanding when describing what they feel they understand well, and then also give input on what they feel they need more instruction on from the teacher. The last question on the self-assessment allows students to choose which type of cell transport they would like to illustrate in the box below. They are given some input on how and what factors need to be included, but off to the right, There is a self checklist that students are able to create that they feel are factors that would make their illustration the most accurate and detailed. The self checklist that students are creating gives them an opportunity to contribute to the self assessment by providing the evaluation for their own illustration. The next step is to study, and this includes data analysis. The major data points to be collected from the self assessment will be which type of transport is most understood, which type of transport most students still need guidance on, and what elements were included in each illustration. Each student submission will be analyzed through the item analysis feature on EdgeElastic, an online assessment platform, where these data points will be identified and used for adjustments. The item analysis will allow the teacher to determine which responses were most aligned and which responses reveal problem areas for the students. After this data analysis, benefits and interventions need to be recognized. The intended benefits of the self assessment will be made evident through the data analysis. If students are able to identify their own strengths and weaknesses while demonstrating their knowledge of cell transport, the benefits of the assessment will be accomplished. Also, by having students create their own evaluation criteria for their illustrations, students will benefit from contributing to the learning process. If students do not achieve the intended results, additional resources will be provided. These additional resources will scaffold students and guide them to providing well developed responses. When students identify which concepts they need more instruction on, further interventions can take place to reteach the concepts most students felt needed more instruction. And the last step is to act. If the criteria and intended benefits are not accomplished through the self assessment, revisions will need to be made to improve the learning and assessment process. If students are unable to provide an accurate illustration of one type of cell transport or provide their own evaluation criteria, revisions will be made to the assessment and the unit leading up to the self assessment. Future plans. The cell transport self assessment could be used in the next cycle of learning as it ties to the next unit pertaining to homeostasis. Students need to have a deep understanding of the cell membrane and how it transports substances. The evaluation criteria that students created in the self assessment illustration could also be used in future assessments of the next learning cycle. This would show students that their input and contributions are valuable. Student inclusion will increase their motivation by making them a part of the learning process and their own learning. In conclusion, learner centered assessments are important to the learning process. Students' involvement and contribution to assessment can deepen their learning and increase motivation. Self assessments give students the opportunity to determine their own strengths and weaknesses and help teachers to make the necessary changes to instruction and assessments.